All right, man. Let's talk about Charlo and Tszyu real quick. I think a lot of people starting to say that Charlo is allowing Tszyu to get better and better and better and better. After his knockout of Carlos Ocampo, watch Tszyu has been active. Jermell Charlo has been inactive. Now, he did a really good interview. I haven't finished watching with Steven Jackson on Showtime. It's probably his best interview, his calmest interview. Um, where he talked about it's probably the water that's making his opponents look so good, but he beats Mass over in America too. Talking about how the water is salty over there, and possibly his opponents could be drinking unfamiliar water, and it's messing with their rehydration or them making weight going over there. And a lot of salt equals sodium retention. We all know that. But the number one thing that's worrying me is for Charlo is Tszyu is just remaining active. That's the number one thing. Charlo ain't fought since last May. And in my opinion, that's a big issue, especially when you creep into your 30s. That becomes a large issue. Um, and this young kid, he get better and 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 better. And you stagnate. And we already know the champion usually ain't the most hungriest person alive. And Charlo just turned 33, by the way. The champion ain't the most hungriest person alive. Especially when you turn around and you fight in May and say you won't be back in January. Then it turns out you got an injury and you won't be back until who knows. And he coming. And he letting you know he coming for Jermell Charlo. You know? I think people starting to realize that he a problem. He gonna be a problem for Charlo for as long as it lasts. And they doing the right thing. They're not sitting around waiting. And on top of that, Showtime is picking up his fights where Charlo fan base can see what they're getting. Can make the fight a lot more interesting than him virtually being unknown. So quite frankly, it looked like Charlo's injury and his inactivity has allowed Tszyu to grow and get better as a fighter and become more of a problem. You know, and just keep getting better and better and better and better and better. Now, Charlo said, well, Tony Harrison, wasn't the same fighter going over there. He don't know what it was, or, he hadn't looked good. Was it the water or whatever? And that could be the case. Going over there could have messed him up. Maybe fighting Jermell Charlo took the rest of his prime out of him. He did lose his father. So who knows? Who knows? But, it just seemed like Tszyu was going to be on the side of it was always something wrong with the opponent and he ain't going to get no credit. That kind of comes with, being your daddy, being who he is, and people kind of feeding into you privilege, and that comes with being a foreign guy that, not a lot of great fighters come from Australia, even though they starting to have a heat wave of great fighters come from Australia. Now it's kind of, but it's not still as common as Mexicans or some, British fighters, Americans. So I think a lot of people is just like, man, he vanilla, he basic, he don't do nothing special. I think people starting to believe in his power now. But uh, but in my humble opinion, all this waiting, all this American like condemning or non-acceptance. I think it's driving him to become tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher. I really do. I think it's making him tougher and tougher and tougher. And Charlo gonna have a tough fight on his hands. Like I said, for as long as it lasts. This kid getting better, and not only in the fights, do the fights make him better. Each training camp, he getting better. Each training camp, he getting better and better, more active and more active. And the more you keep into them 30s, the more active you really need to be. And Charlo just not getting the activity. And that's a problem. So that's a huge problem. But that's a huge problem. And now I think they have by like September 30th to make this fight happen, 20th something. Or, Jermell gonna be stripped. And now a guy that most people didn't think belonged in the ring with Jermell Charlo. Now people believe it now this might be a tough fight. We can't act like Charlo ain't struggled with all caliber fighters. John Jackson was beating him every round until he caught him. Bonas Monterosian, he admitted in that interview with Steven Jackson that was one of his toughest fights. So you just go up and down the scale of guys that Demetrius Hopkins, and he struggled with all caliber fighters. Brian Carlos Castanos, most people thought it was going to be an easy fight. Had two good really fights with him. Ended the second fight with an explanation knockout. So, listen to Al Heyman, injuries, holding on to belts that, he probably shouldn't hold on to. Now he done created a monster. Now he done created a monster. And Tszyu, they doing everything they need to do. It don't seem like he blowing up in between fights. Yeah. Seem like he's staying in shape. He's staying focused. He's not letting the celebrityism, I know that ain't the word, over there in Australia get in his face. Knock him off his pivot. It looked like we in for a good one. Two power punchers. And what make it even better is because Jermell been inactive. So now, he didn't let this thing, kind of like Cell and Dragon Ball Z. He didn't let him power up and get all the little androids and get all the things he need to get to be a serious threat. And then if he beat Jermell Charlo, I'm pretty sure it's a rematch clause in there, right? But if he beat Jermell Charlo, then you handing the whole division over to Tszyu. You holding the whole division up to Tszyu. So, but I think they might have a special fight on their hands. I really do. I think they might have a special fight on their hands. Two power punchers. I think Charlo, more athletic, but Tszyu technical, and I mean, part of me still don't believe Al Heyman gonna have Charlo fight Tszyu, but the other half of me probably saying like, okay, he probably will. That's why they invest in all this TV time and picking up his rights to his fights, which also get him programming. But in addition to that, it gives Tszyu exposure. and get Tszyu exposure. So, but yeah, I think they got a barn burner on their hands. I think they got a barn burner in their hand. I think they got an instant classic if Tszyu can take the punch. And that was the question about Castanos. And Castanos took the punch in the first fight. And his conditioning, Jermell got some great conditioning. That's another thing. A lot of them dudes, if they could take the punch, they lose focus and conditioning, and they usually get knocked out. But hey, thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And the subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance to get notifications. We go live or drop video. Financially, want to support the channel. Cash App, $ CJ Good 313. Venmo CJ Good 313. PayPal link in the description. Hit the link tree. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. Appreciate y'all. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Peace.